Y'all ready?
Alright.
I was shackled to the chains of procrastination, but I'm free at last. Despite my procrastination keeping me from finishing, it's giving me enough time to perfect my craft. Instead of going back to the history, I'm giving you insight on what's bothering me mentally. And with that being said, please bear with me. It ain't a mystery that today's leadership lacks inconsistency. My leadership is here to stay and no one can get rid of me. The leaders of today only show their faces when something tragic occurs. They have yet to show action, but we accept the endearment of their words. The so-called leaders of today would rather be seen and not heard. I was taught that actions speak louder than words. And when they have yet to show actions to the problems we face, I don't hear a thing. If anyone doubts whether or not dreams come true, just look at Martin Luther King. Why is violence often assumed when we hear obtaining freedom through any means? We see past our current troubles, which is why the caged birds sing. Today we're blessed with many rights that our ancestors didn't have. We all want change, but don't care how we get it, which is why we're detached from our past. In the words of Martin Luther King, we're free at last, free at last. Well, today we're free of oppression as police brutality places another black man in a body bag. I am no longer blind to the fact that actions change in accordance to time. The enforcers of the law are the ones committing crime. In response to multiple acts of police brutality, y'all crossed the line, then had the nerve to say Sandra Bland committed suicide. The African-American race is slowly being erased. This is potential genocide. I ain't gonna question life because everyone has to die. Caged as animals for so long, we just became personified. I had my eyes on the prize, but had to snatch from my very eyes. We're not given the same opportunities as other ethnic groups trying to read between the color lines. They're segregating blacks and whites through death, and that's the price we pay for being black. No matter how far we come, we're not too far away from the past. That's a fact, remember that. Slavery still exists, we just slaves of the state. Our lives belong to the system once we become inmates. The majority of blacks are in prison while whites remain in the state. Some things are black and white. Open your eyes, they're using the law as justification to segregate. Most blacks don't watch the news because it's too depressing, but sometimes watching the news could teach us a lesson. It can keep us from doing something wrong that we were planning to do, while at the same time providing us with information on what's going on around you. A lot of people don't want us to watch the news in order to blind us from the truth while taking away our will to live and diminishing the spirit of the youth. Don't just hear me, listen and learn. Don't care who offended by this. I'm expressing my First Amendment as far as I'm concerned. As we move into mansions and own homes, we abandon the community. Blacks that escape poverty forget the struggle and let wealth divide the unity. They rather buy materialistic items than to feed the hungry, just spending money foolishly, rather than giving back and give young blacks an opportunity. The loyalty of blacks can be described as a ride or die. Most hate crime, but live a lifestyle as means to provide. The odds are stacked against us, so we can't find jobs, or leave us the option of being homeless or resorting to crime. The world can't tell us nothing because we think we know it all. For those of you who think guns can solve problems, ask the killers if that problem solved. Truthfully, using guns will cause your problems to never end, especially when people are constantly making amends to avenge their dear friends at someone else's expense. Take a glimpse. We're living in a world where friendship doesn't exist, we just pretend. Loyalty can be bought, which is why we kill our loved ones for a couple of millions. The fake people gonna listen, but the real gonna hear and feel me. Just because someone convicted of a crime doesn't mean that they're guilty. We live in a world where the justice system is cruel and unfair. The innocent are in prison, but the guilty go free. Do the judges care? The lack of probable cause destroys the dreams of the dreamer. Some cops plant evidence to commit search and seizure arrest procedures. Listen to the speaker. This all takes hope from the believer, causing them to commit crime and catch misdemeanors. Bulletproof vests are often used to protect flesh, but what's the defensive mechanism when you're feeling oppressed and face to face with the racist acts that you detest? White supremacists came to the school to speak. Is this a test? My pain is mental, so this vest is useless. The human brain has too much intellect to let your thoughts be suppressed. The black race has too much promise to let the majority fall victim to arrest. This is because the black race doesn't truly love one another, but a united front as we use the Black Lives Matter movement as a cover. Some of us really care as we support the movement, while others march along and could care less about the movement. Black lives are only taken by another black life, at least 1 in 5, so it's prophesied that the more blacks live, the more blacks die. And we really care about black lives and stop taking black lives, because if every black dies, then the world itself will have to be revolutionized. Every bad cop that abuses their power should be handcuffed. Too many black lives taken away as their ashes hit the dust, and I had enough. Satiety continues to define us, which is why we need to stop letting the statistics speak for us. Many blacks are made outcasts for reasons that aren't right. Lighter skin is accepted while darker skin is denied. Lighter skin is visible while darker skin is invisible to the racist eye. White is superior, black is inferior. That's the contrast between dark and light. So much going on in the world and they're obsessed with our skin, blaming us for our skin color and this result of melanin. With no hesitation, I die for what I believe in, and I believe that true love is judged by the heart rather than by the color of the skin. I keep my head up because Tupac said, blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice, the darker the flesh, deeper the roots. Well, I'm living proof ancestry originated from Africa and extended its roots. Why don't we just stop the violence and call it the truth? Black Lives Matter movement doesn't stop black lives from being taken, so what's the use? Our own kind are turning a blind eye to the ones that were turned to homicides when the police felt it was their time to die. That's because this topic has no true relevance and no repercussion, as the law for murderers face no consequence. Even though the police chiefs apologized for the acts of police brutality, don't let them confuse us. After the Black Lives Matter movement was made, even more lives were took. They refused us. When the people tasked with defending the nation are against you, who can you trust? We have to protect black lives in memory of the ones looking down on us. The acts of police brutality are actually being commended, and yet the officers of these actions go unapprehended. God wanted brethren to deal together in unity. This isn't what God intended. Enforcers of the law only protect their loved ones, which is why blacks are left defenseless. Should murderers be given a sentence when killing is relentless? Killing goes without cause, so we label it as senseless. Death is shocking to the brain and traumatizing the witness. The cycle of life being reduced to death is endless. Eagerly waiting to give us a sentence because arresting blacks is the mission. Happily imprisoning blacks like it's some kind of expedition. Uniting a nation to get rid of us like word competition. How do y'all expect us to survive with the world's harsh conditions? For instance, like because of the color of our skin, they say we look suspicious. We didn't choose to be black, we were just born that way. The insults and unfair treatment got many blacks regretting their skin color every day. I can honestly say I detest. In other words, I can't relate, because if given the opportunity to change my ethnicity, I wouldn't change. You too will learn to embrace your ethnicity as you learn more and become smarter. I never wanted to change my skin color. In fact, I used to wish that I was darker. For any blacks that regret their skin colors, pay attention and listen. We don't need jewelry to supplement our complexion. We are already efficient. But if you love yourself, continue to do it and live life to the fullest. I love blacks and whites. I have not said a truer thing than this. I honestly believe that blacks and whites can peacefully coexist, stronger together than apart. We could put America in a better predicament. But that will never happen if both sides continue to resist. The phony relationships today are as fake as counterfeit. Looks real on the outside, but on the inside it doesn't make sense. Too many children are hurting inside with the mindset that crying ain't fine, so the emotion they have left to express is their pride, which is why they put on these fake facades and become blind to religion, so they strangers to God. We see kids hurting all the time, but we continue to turn a blind eye and only open our hearts and our eyes after they commit suicide. Love is offensive, defensive is pride. Lack of compassion for others, where do these feelings reside? The resentment of a parent might be transparent, but we don't see what occurs when we're not in their presence. The kid can be treated right, but still have lack of compassion. Cruel treatment from friends can ignite hatred, and their parents don't realize what's happening. A lot of school shooters shoot up schools because they're having a bad day, but while they live to see another, the victim passes away. These school shooters don't see the severity of the consequences that they face. When we learn from others, and brutal police officers are making them feel that it's okay. They don't have the sense to listen, so they're harder to convince. And for this reason alone, they say ignorance is bliss. So at peace with our own demons, we sometimes sit and reminisce. Can't save ourselves from destruction if your soul falls into the abyss. Change will never come if we remain at peace with our ignorance. I try to be optimistic, and yet I don't see the world getting any better. Interracial relations are tested by racist acts, and their bonds are severed. The application of hatred finds the soreness of love and applies pressure. Let me explain this in a way that is relatable to some and clever. Like a machine gun, we need to rapidly express ourselves in our endeavor, but the fear of rejection silences our words like a suppressor. Don't build your foundation on negativity, because when this emotion disperses, what's going to be left holding you together? Remember the Titans? Well, after I die, I want to be a Titan that's remembered. Don't be impressed by this. I've been rapping since I was 6. One word to describe this moment is informative. I'm the informant informing you, so consider yourself advised. Let's learn to love one another and peacefully coexist before all of us die.